This is an interesting sign. What does this mean?
I'm sure you all heard about Harambe the gorilla. He was murdered in the Cincinnati Zoo last May. And I'm just saying, like, dicks out for Harambe. That's our rallying cry. Yeah.
So your dick, you pull it out for Harambe?
I mean, if Harambe was here, it'd be out right now.
He's into that?
I wouldn't say he's into it, but it's just show of support, you know?
So that's a way to show support?
Exactly.
Huh.
It's out and it's smashing tier 130s, hitting for trillions upon trillions of damage, flies all over the goddamn place, one-shotting everything. And you collect thousands of ether in Torment 4. This build does it all, and it has two things that no other builds has. One, an ungodly amount of fun. And secondly, Harambe's approval. And if you don't watch this video until the end, then Harambe died for nothing. Alright, so apart from being fun and Harambe approved, are there any other reasons as to play it? Hell yeah, my guy. This gameplay is from this Chinese fella, and he's pumping damage that is on par with the quill volley build. But where this build truly shines is when you're speed farming. The AoE of this build is just massive, not unlike something else, and it blows shit up all over the place with just one click. It's by far the strongest speed farming build in the game, and if you're not going for any world records in pit pushing, then this is easily the best build in the game, and I'd recommend anyone to play it. Okay, Mr. Perra. Gaming Big Dick Senpai, I'm sold, but how does it work? Well, shit. It's easy. It's utilizing most of the same synergies as the quill volley build. For example, we are using the Rod of Keck combined with the Banished Lord's Talisman to both crit and overpower every hit we make. To fully utilize this, we in turn need to stack a buttload of maximum resource. It's actually insanely easy to get to a point in this build where you do this. And in case your gear is complete dogshit, then that is fine as well. I'll have a version for you too. When it comes to scaling this damage, we do a few things. For starters, we slap Scourge onto our bars. This not only increases our damage, but it's also cool as hell and grants us additional damage via one of our aspects. We're also rocking counterattack for this same reason. That is a buttload of damage, but it's not in our bars. So how does that work? Well, damn, by slapping on the Midnight Sun aspect, we get that skill for free, and we can instead rock Saw for whenever we need to jump across walls or drop a wet fart onto our enemies. And in case you want to push, then you just replace Saw with Vortex instead to gather enemies. When it comes to the other skills, they are all massively important. Armored Hide is important as to generate Resolve. We'll then use this Resolve and combine it with Interdiction and Redirected Force. This is one of the two main ways of scaling damage in all of the Cringeborn builds, and is why you see people hitting for upwards of hundreds of trillions. By getting as much resolve as possible, combined with these aspects, our damage skyrockets. Funnily enough, it also scales Crushing Hand in particular directly for even more damage, and can also be utilized in the Perragons for yet an additional multiplier. Basically triple dipping in different damage bonuses, and we sure love triple dipping over here at Pergaming. The other main scaling factor in this build is Viscous Shield. As you may know, is massively bugged and grants damage per base life instead, and is uncapped. This in itself can multiply your damage by a factor of 20 or more, depending on your gear. For the final skills, we have Ravager and the Hunter. Ravager is used as to grant us this permanent badass dash, making us fly all over the place. When it comes to the Hunter, it's used for big hecking dams, simple as that. Alright friends, let's check out the gear and aspects, and we'll cover the build step by step, so your demented old boomer head can keep up. Starting us right off, we're rocking just a regular helmet in this build. This is due to three reasons: Big Dam, and Big Hecking Dam. We want to stack as many Resolve and Resilience stacks as possible, as the former is used in combination with interdiction and redirected force, while the latter is used with the viscous shield node. It's also possible to rock Shaco if you want. That's what I've been using, while the material economy has been all fucked up and we haven't been able to get enough rawhides. Either way, you can slap on the concussive strikes aspect if you want massive big dick damage, or pretty much any defensive aspect if you're a cuck. But either way, get that maximum resource because you'll need at least 240 for Banished Lord's Talisman if you're rocking that setup. For them big old titties, we're using just a bland old chest. Here you're looking for the same stats, and you slap on the interdiction aspect real hecking good. You also see that I'm using Resilient rather than Resolve stacks here, and that's due to us wanting to spread those bad boys out. Because due to diminishing returns, you should aim for roughly equal stacks of both of them. For aspect, slap on the interdiction aspect real hecking good. And also don't forget to temper barrier generation everywhere as the utility temper, as you'll want at least 100% for the viscous shield passive. Next up are the gloves. These are simple. Get damage. Attack speed along with ranks to crushing hands and either dex or max life is the name of the game here. Get all of that and you'll be blasting no doubt. For aspect, you'll grab the redirected force aspect as it's just massively bugged and therefore uncapped, granting several 100% of big damage for us. Next we have the pantaloonies. It's not massively important to cap resistances in this build when you're decked out, as you will have a gazillion fucking HP and barrier. But regardless, I'm rocking 2 resistance rolls and slapping gems into the jewelry. Combine this with a bit of resistance in the Perragons and skill tree, and you should be pretty much capped. For aspect, I'm using the apprehension aspect as it's yet another massive damage scaler, combined with fearing enemies with Scourge. Next, you want a slick pair of sneakers, of course. Here you'll definitely prio the movement speed, as else you'll turn into a fucking sloth. And Harambe was fast as fuck boy, so make that legendary gorilla proud, will you? Or else he'll come back and drop kick you in the balls. Either way, the duelist aspect grants ferocity stacks and in turn a lot of attack speed, which is lovely for an utility aspect. You can also grab a movement speed aspect if you want, and then finally the interesting stuff. Rod of Kepeleke is just broken man, granting every build a gazillion damage. So of course we abuse it and look for a GA maximum resource and as high of a roll as possible on the aspect. To get that 240 vigor sorted, I'm using this along with the helmet, but you can also use Tybalt's Will if you're still lacking max resource. For the jewelry, we're going for Banished Lord's Talisman. The max life on this thing is disgusting, and so is the aspect on it. By spending 275 resource, we, in turn, overpower. And the reason we need 240 to trigger it is due to Banished Lord's Talisman being bugged, and not counting the base cost of our Harambe Smash skill. You don't have to worry about how that works, though. Just get that 240 sorted, my beautiful man or woman, until it's nerfed. Next we go for the Midnight Sun Ring. Now this is important, so listen up, goddammit. I'll have a calculator down in the description by Godgamer Sanctum over at Mobalytics. You need to get enough vigor generation so that when you use your Harambe skill, you instantly regenerate all your vigor via this. If you have a max roll on the resource here, then it will be way easier to sort out. In fact, so easy that you can just get a shitty resource generation roll on the other ring, some Perragon points, and you're good to go. But check out the calculator if you're missing something, will ya? And for final ring, we want to get that attack speed cap sorted. We're working our way towards 100% on our gear and Perragons, and then we slap on the Moonrise aspect on top of that, as it is in another attack speed bucket. It also doubles our damage, which is balanced for sure. Another important stat is, of course, resource generation. Make sure to temper that first, as you'll need to get your cap sorted. And how much do you need? Well, shit. depends on your midnight sun, your intelligence, Perragons, and more. Check out the calculator. Another important thing to note here is that you want chance to make enemies vulnerable. If you don't have it, then you have to build into soar to get some vulnerable in this build. All right, my beautiful viewer. Let's see what else there is. Oh yes, the Runewords. Let's check those out. We're going to spend a gazillion resources here. So if we combine that with the Earthen Bulwark rune, what do you think will happen then? Damn right. Immortality achieved. On top of that, we have to keep up a massive barrier for Viscous Shield, so there are just wins everywhere. We can also combine this with invoking another class's skill from the other rune and get more maximum life. Because more max life equals big damn equals big dick. That's just a fact. We also have the gems here, where you want amethysts in your armor to get that barrier generation sorted. This also means using the rune word in your weapon, so you make room for more barrier generation. For the Spirit Hall, I'm rocking the Jaguar for the damage bonus, which is also bugged if you get enough attack speed, and Harambe for a few more maximum resolve stacks, along with permanent unstoppable. Just lovely. Alright, that's the gear and aspects. Before we check out the skills, where do you actually find all these gear pieces and shit? I'd say trade them at Crimson Market is probably the easiest. Let's say you need a Rod of Kepalika. You sign in, search for it, and then whisper some idiot that you want to buy it. It's that simple. And when it comes to actually getting the gold required, you just paste over an image or use the desktop app if you're a PC gigachad, and you can copy-paste your items over from within the game. It's just that easy, folks. They're also giving away PCs every month, and you can join the draft for free just by signing up. This month, it's time for a Starforge PC, and there will be a draft on the Bald Man's stream. Very nice. Well, damn, will you look at that? It's already skill tree a fucking clock, and you know it, baby. Let's do it. The basic skills are getting a fart to the face. We then go to pick up our Harambe friend, along with Rampant Harambe, for an additional 1.5x multiplier. How many points you put into Vigor depends on your gear, but I'm using 3 points as to require less resource generation. You then want Balanced Exertion for the massive schlong damage, followed by heading over to pick up all of these lovely passive for humongous amounts of damage. After that, we want Ravager, which we mainly use for the dash and vigor generation. It's then time for some boring-ass defensive passives. Snooze, am I right? But at least we get massive damage from Armored Hide, as it grants us block chance along with our resolve stacks for the interdiction and redirected force aspects. Next, we have counterattack. We gain this passive from the Midnight Sun Ring automatically, and we want it for the damage bonus. Scourge is another lovely skill, not only granting a 50% damage bonus, but is also needed for the apprehension aspect that we slapped onto our pantaloonies. After that, we go for Resilient, which you also want to temper in combination with Maximum Resolve, and Dominant for yet even more damage. Potent and Furnace are another 2 insane passives as well, and are easy to benefit from due to selecting Jaguar as our main Spirit Hall. In the ultimates we grab, well, pretty much fucking everything. The Hunter for massive damage, the same goes for Resolution, Spiritual Attunement, and Supremacy. Spiritual Attunement also helps out a bunch with that maximum resource, making it real easy to solve. And finally, the key passive. Prodigy's Tempo is simply far better than any alternative here. Not only does it grant some damage, but it's what allows us to reset our cooldowns with ease all the time. Well shit, skill tree complete. Let's check out the Perragons now, shall we? These Perragons are used to upwards of 240 points, which I'm roughly at now. To continue with the board, just start picking up nodes all over the place. These are, however, the most important ones. And if you're a dogshit newbie, you also prioritize the glyphs and legendary nodes, followed by maximum life in this build. Alright, so we start off with Headhunter here for the additional damage. Next, we go for the sapping legendary node for the big multiplier, and socket menagerist with ease, and we use this to boost the nearby max resource along with int and strength for some rare nodes later. Next, we have convergence, another massive multiplier, and socket outmatch for the humongous damage boost. Next, we want viscous shield, which is massively bugged and granting trillions of damage, along with socketing spirit for the damage. And lastly, we go for revealing, which is a great node seeing, as it also knocks enemies down, which we can use for the dominant passive in the skill tree, if you remember what the hell that was. And we finally socket Gorilla, which grants damage per stack of resolve. And of course, in case you're dog shit at the game, use this glyph earlier in the board as it's one of the more important ones. Goddamn man, you still here? What a fucking legend. Drop a sub, will ya? And let's get hecking good. The build is simple yet beautiful to play. You press Crushing Hand, and you crush them with your hand. Summon the spirit of Harambe, and you shall blow them up with ease. Other than that, you have a few cooldowns you want to keep track of. Ravager is used on cooldown. The same goes for Armored Hide. You'll keep these up and reset their cooldowns simply by blasting out as many crushing hands as possible. When it comes to Scourge, you'll use it when you've gathered up enemies, as this will fear them and make you deal insane amounts of damage. The last two skills are mainly for mobility, especially Soar. When pushing, you should replace Soar with Vortex to gather enemies more easily. And finally, the Hunter. You want to use this pretty much every time it is off cooldown. It grants you a bunch of damage bonuses, and you can also use it for mobility. Other than that, though, you just blast, man. Enjoy the build, it's fun as hell. Stay shredded, kings, and I'll see you in the next one.